Program support provided by the F. Price Kosman Memorial Trust, Entrust Bank trustee, bringing you the Kansas Wild Edge segments on Positively Kansas.
It's time for Positively Kansas. Coming up, throngs of neighbors turn out to paint the town red and blue and green and every other color. It's a giant work of art that townsfolk hope will put this sleepy little burg on the map. Also, what's cuter than kids playing with puppies? Well, how about kids reading to puppies? But this isn't just for fun or a cute picture. This program in Harvey County has mutual benefits for little people and pooches alike. Plus, chickens rule the roost at this Kansas nursing home, and they're not just clucking around. These hens have an extraordinary purpose. Details coming up. And in our Kansas Wild Edge report, you may think this animal is one thing, but it's actually another, and its closest relative actually lives in Africa. Stick around to learn all about it. I'm Sierra Scott. Those stories and more are queued up and ready to roll. Another edition of Positively Kansas starts right now. More and more Kansas communities are discovering that large public art projects can be exciting and effective ways to freshen things up. In the Reno County town of Haven, townsfolk are grabbing paintbrushes and teaming up. Anthony Powell shows us how they're bringing more beauty to the plains and bringing their town together in the process.
You could go up halfway because eventually it's brown line to be.
It wasn't your typical spring Saturday in the small town of Haven. After all, how many Saturdays do you see teens up early doing some painting? No, this was a special day, the kickoff of the community's mural project to help breathe new life into downtown. Folks of all ages and means of transportation coming to help out.
The idea is to get together, make something beautiful for your community, hopefully meet some new folks, get to know each other a little bit better, talk about what's important to Haven.
David Lowenstein is a well-known muralist from Lawrence, Kansas, and has done projects across the United States, many in the Sunflower State. A few years ago, he met Haven High art school teacher Kylie Baldetti, and they talked about doing a mural in Haven. Baldetti got the ball rolling, and thanks to lots of hard work from citizens and city leaders, various forms of funding were obtained, and the project finally became a reality.
The real fun thing about this mural is that it's based on a photograph from maybe 10,000 feet up, looking down on the community, so you're looking straight down, Google Earth-like.
But the real stars of the project are Kylie Baldetti's students, who oversaw the mural's design, which is comprised of their ideas and sketches. Here is a rendering of the finished mural.
The biggest thing that I wanted from my students was for them to see art outside of the classroom. It's not just in the four walls, it's all over. So I just wanted to have that in their community and for them to be involved so that they can see what that's like outside.
Lots of her students were there bright and early for the kickoff, including Grace Sawatsky, who perhaps surprisingly told us the project was a welcome break from her phone and other technology.
I think that getting off my gadget helps me connect more to the community and people.
In addition to Haven, David Lowenstein has helped lead a number of community-based mural projects. Now here is one that was done in Joplin, Missouri, following the devastating tornado that ripped through that town in 2011, and it really helped bring the community together. He's also led a number of mural projects in Kansas, including in Newton, Emporia, and Topeka. Lowenstein's mural work is chronicled in a documentary by Lawrence, Kansas filmmaker Nicholas Ward entitled Called to Walls.
In Newton, one of the most amazing things was when one of our design team members, Sarah, organized a group of community volunteers to choreograph a dance that was in response to the mural design
And here's some documentary footage from Joplin, Missouri, as the community came together to do a mural after the tornado. Back in Haven, meanwhile, the work continued. After a few days of painting, lots of progress had been made. And now, generations of Haven residents and those visiting the city will be able to experience something that brought the community together on one spring Saturday. For Positively Kansas, I'm Anthony Powell.
The mural is being painted on a building owned by the Kincaid Equipment Company, which has been on board with the project from day one. Now to Harvey County, where it's story time for Fido. A special partnership in Newton teams up school kids and shelter dogs for a unique reading program. Anna Spencer has the story.
Barking gives way to chatter as students from the Dragon Kids After School program settle in. With books in hand, these pre-K through 6th grade kiddos tell tales to their furry friends.
I see a blue horse looking at me. Blue horse, blue horse.
It doesn't take long for 4th grader Adelaide and her pre-K reading partner Addison to soothe this big German Shepherd. The duo are part of a team of 12 students who volunteer at the animal shelter under the guidance of program director Mary Wilson.
I go to the public library, gather a bunch of books, get the kids, and that's how we've started.
These bi-weekly visits serve a dual purpose. Students have an opportunity to practice and develop their reading skills for a captive, tail-wagging audience. And these shelter dogs, who often exhibit signs of stress and anxiety, now have a chance to experience positive human interaction and receive some much-needed love. The relationships developed here are reciprocal, with the kids encouraging the dogs and vice versa.
Sally has been very shy coming in with the larger dogs, and she was not able to go into that dog cage, and now she can walk into that room and sit down and read with the dogs and actually interact with them. And that's one of the highlights.
Volunteering is a big job, and these kiddos know it. Reading is only one part of this exchange. The Dragon kids know that the dogs are more likely to get adopted if they're approachable rather than anxious or cowering. They're preparing their furry friends for forever homes. It's a task that's met with mixed emotions.
Right, they want to adopt the animals and take them all home if they could, and we can bring them all. Can we just take them home with us on the bus, please?
The kiddos are all smiles as they board the bus and head back to the school, carrying with them life lessons in the power of reading, as well as compassion and empathy for all living things. In Newton, I'm Anna Spencer for Positively Kansas.
The Reading Fund continues year-round. USD 440 visits the animal shelter during the summer program and then picks back up with the regular schedule in the fall. Meanwhile, residents at a Haysville nursing home have become very close to another type of animal that, well, might surprise you. Anthony Powell shows us what all the squawking is about.
Come on. Come on.
It's a morning ritual at Diversicare in Haysville. Activity Director Karen Noctegal calling out to 4 chickens who have resided in the courtyard since early 2018. There's Big Mama, Spot, Little Britches, and Wooshock, named for his resemblance to WSU's well-known mascot. As we watched them eat, we had to ask, why chickens?
Well, it's really an interesting story. We had a resident who's no longer here that was always looking for something to do. So he came to my office one day and said, we need some chickens. Why don't we get chickens in the courtyard?
Turns out the former resident had raised chickens and thought they would provide some laughs for residents. The administration agreed, and ever since, they've been the stars of the courtyard.
Well, the residents really enjoy watching them. Not too many of them actually come out and interact with the chickens, but they tell me when something's going on. So Little Britches this last week has been limping, and I don't know what she did with her leg, but she's okay. But I had probably 25 people tell me, that little white chicken is hurt, you need to help her. And so they really watch out for the chickens. And I think that they just provide tranquility. I mean, they're just really calming, and they just sort of move around, and the residents really enjoy watching them.
Some residents have enjoyed getting up close and personal with the birds, but most watch from afar. And for a few, the chickens bring back childhood memories.
I was raised on a farm, and my mother raised a lot of chickens. And we canned the chickens' meat for the winter and had chicken in the middle of the winter.
So this is bringing back memories of your childhood?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, good memories.
But Mary Penka also told us chickens were a lot of work on the farm, so she really didn't enjoy them back then. Now, though, she appreciates their eccentric ways.
Makes me happy because when I come out, I bring something from inside, they come around, and if I don't have it, they come back and they look at me as if, hey, I'm here.
They want their food.
They want their little tit-bats, you bet.
That's great. What do you think they've done for the other residents, and how have they helped people's moods?
I think they cheer us up, make us happy, because we can see them out there running around playing and whatnot out there, so it's interesting.
It's not just the residents, though, who get joy from the chickens. Karen Noctegal told us she'd never really been around the birds before. Now she can't imagine them not being in her life.
You know, I love those chickens. I just love them, and it just makes me happy.
Noctegal says she is very glad to have sort of a chicken expert as her assistant. Resident Yagub Tidi raised chickens in Sudan before coming to the U.S., so he has been a big help with these 4. Meanwhile, seems like everywhere you look here at Diversicare, there's a chicken-related theme. This is a mini library behind me, patterned after, of course, a chicken coop. Now, when it's done, it will sit outside of the facility so that members of the surrounding community can come and pick up a book. So from inspiring a community library to keeping residents entertained, who would have thought chickens could mean so much? Each with their own distinct personality.
Just like each and every one of us, we have our own little personalities.
Right, like chickens, like people, right?
Yeah.
I will watch them a lot of times, and they'll be picking after another one because they want to get something to eat themselves.
Just goes to show, it truly is the simple things that bring the most joy. For Positively Kansas, I'm Anthony Powell.
Residents also get the chance to visit with cats and dogs. A therapy dog is brought in from time to time, as are cats and dogs from the Humane Society. And on occasion, a volunteer brings her miniature horses to mingle with residents too. Well, unless you look closely, you may mistake them for deer. But did you know about the animal roaming western Kansas whose closest relative is actually the giraffe? Mike Blair has a story in this week's Kansas Wild Edge.
When you think of Western American wildlife, elk, mule deer, and Rocky Mountain sheep might come to mind. But don't forget about the continent speedster, the pronghorn antelope. This prairie dweller lives in plain view, but due to the vastness of grasslands and its nomadic tendencies, it's often hard to view close up. And its ability to cover lots of ground in just a few moments can quickly take it out of easy viewing range. Pronghorns are curious, but they're also skittish and quickly move away from cars and potential threats. They live in wide open spaces where their excellent vision, comparable to 8-power binoculars, misses nothing. They can see moving objects as small as a man from 4 miles away. Western Kansas is home to pronghorns, where they live on the high plains. Their societies are basically female-driven, where does with their fawns may join together at times in herds with noticeable pecking orders. Bucks tend to be solitary until mating season, which occurs in early fall. Then the largest males fight and gather harems of does in September. Later, they may join with large wintering herds until spring. Pronghorns are the fastest land animal in the Western Hemisphere, with oversized hearts, lungs, and windpipes that allow astonishing sustained speeds. They have been clocked at more than 60 miles per hour in short bursts, and they can maintain speeds of 35 miles per hour for up to 4 miles, far exceeding the abilities of any other land animal. African cheetahs may be faster in a 100-yard dash, would have no chance to catch a pronghorn except in a blind ambush. Pronghorns, handsome tan and white animals with black horns, make a wondrous sighting on the Kansas landscape. Weighing about 120 pounds, they relish forbs and weeds, choosing these even above succulent winter wheat and crops. Despite their speed, pronghorns have little jumping ability. This puts them at odds with ranchers and farmers, as they typically cross through or under fences, sometimes forcing repairs. Pronghorns, another peripheral Kansas resident where east meets west in America's heartland. I'm Mike Blair for Positively Kansas.
On our next show, Mike takes us into the tiny little world of flying spiders. Now that should be fascinating. Well, Kansans came from near and far to discover hidden family memories at the inaugural KPTS Antique Appraisal Fair. Antiques of all shapes and sizes were checked over by trained experts, just like the Antiques Roadshow. Correspondent John Wright has this report.
I brought in an old rose-cut diamond today that weighs a little over 6 carats because I felt like I needed a second opinion on what an antique cut diamond like that might be worth on today's market.
I was excited to come here and find out, what my object is worth and enjoy myself.
Brought 3 things in.
3 people from various walks of life with at least one thing in common: a curiosity about the value of their antiques. The inaugural KPTS Channel 8 Antiques Fair at the Wichita State University Metroplex drew hundreds of curiosity seekers, including Michael Carter. Michael was pleased with the results.
He looked it up and he says one similar to it is $30, but he couldn't find, exactly who's by the name or anything like that. So I'll do further research on it.
Darla Hammer brought 3 items for trained eyes to help her learn more about her antiques.
The ladies we met they were wonderful. They did a lot of education for us and told us about the items and what things to look for. And
even expert John Boldenow had an antique rose-cut diamond ring to get a second opinion from a gemologist.
I actually bought it in the hilt. It was in the hilt of an East Indian knife that I bought about that many years ago. for $20.
John didn't say how much the ring was worth.
Let's just say I won't sell it for $30.
KPTS Special Events Coordinator, Misty Brown.
We've had a lot of people already come through, and people are really excited to find out information about their items. We've got about 400 people that'll come through these doors today, so I think it's going to be a really good thing. I'd say we've seen at least 200 so far.
We've had some wonderful Kansas artists come through. We've had prairie printmakers come through. We've had the best piece of American folk art I've ever done come through this morning. It's been an amazing half day.
For Positively Kansas, I'm John Wright.
We are in for a real treat today. I have Lene Smith, who is back in town. I know you're not here real often, so thank you for making time for us. She's a plus size model, and I'm sorry, I look at you and I go, that's not plus. I love it though, because you know, the modeling industry has been, in the past, so focused on zero or less than zero. It's nice to see, and I still think you're tiny, but a real person in ads. Do you find, are you getting a lot of work?
I actually am. I'm not gonna say it's easy, and it takes time to build your clients, but after a few years of doing this with a great family and a great agency behind me, a great couple of agencies now, it's really started to, it trickled in at first, but now it's like, oh, I'm getting steady work, I'm doing this. Yeah, it's one of those things where the industry's changing, and like I was signed as a plus size model, and now there's more of a niche clientele where people are like, she's a size 8, I'm a size 8, why don't we just show our customers what it looks like on a size 8, and not even be like, oh, try and categorize like, oh, this is a plus size woman, because in reality, like, we're always as women so apologetic of our bodies, but they treat us, you know, that this is what we live in, and why should we have to explain why our hips are a little wider than somebody else's, you know?
Right, I totally agree with you, and I love the fact that you're out there really promoting a healthy body image. Do you consider yourself a role model in that area?
It's funny, I didn't at first, but then I realized when I got a little bit more a momentum behind me, and I mean people supporting me from Kansas especially, telling me about their stories, and like, hey, it's nice to see somebody represented who is in between, and somebody who's just a regular shaped woman. I say that, and women are all different sizes, but more average, I'd say. Yeah, I consider myself a role model, not because I'm constantly out there putting this image out there, but I'm trying to stay authentic and transparent about it, because it's not a glamorous industry all the time. Right. You might work really glamorous jobs and love it, and then you go back and you're like, where's my next paycheck coming from?
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, you are out in LA now. How did you get started? Did you start at an agency here, work your way up? How old were you?
I had some interest from some smaller agencies here. I was throughout 15, 14, I had a supportive mom, and I knew I wanted to look into it. People said, oh, you should model, but I was like, I've always been like a little curvier, and I was like, there's not a industry for me, you know? But I was in Chicago, and I ended up getting scouted by Ford Models.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big feat.
Thank you.
You say that like it's nothing, it's huge.
Yeah, and I mean, it was like, I couldn't believe what was happening, because they were straight up with me. They were like, I was a size 6 then, and I'm like an 8, 10 now, but they were like, we don't really have a spot for you, but they ended up following me out the door and being like, we want to sign you anyways, and they found like the niche clientele I needed, and then they, I'm just telling you the story of how it all happened.
Oh, I love it.
After spending some time in Chicago and going to school, work picked up, and it was like, LA might seem like the right next step, and I made that transition. If you know about modeling, you can have a different agency in every city, so I got an LA modeling agency too, and you still work with your Chicago one, your LA one, and maybe I'll get a New York one.
Hopefully, I cross my
hopefully
fingers.
Cross my fingers, yeah. But yeah, it was from Kansas to Chicago to LA, so.
Wow,
yeah.
That's amazing. Did you ever think that this was going to take off? And do you think that more people now are accepting of people who aren't a size -0 or -3 or whatever? Yeah.
I think it's honestly what the average public wants. I mean, high fashion's one thing. I'm a commercial model. I'd love to do high fashion at some point, but we have to work as a community and as a community in the fashion industry to make it more acceptable of different body types first. But in commercial, I mean, you can go to different stores and you, like maybe Target per se, and you see their ads and they've got all different sizes on there. And I think I like it. I don't know about you.
I do too. I love it. No, I do.
And I think it's really shifting. It's taken time, and it's not done.
Right.
It's shifting.
Yeah, because when I came into television, it was not acceptable. In fact, you signed a contract that you wouldn't gain weight. So that's how crazy it was. So I'm so glad to see you breaking kind of these role model ideas and going out there and doing it. So thank you for taking time when you're back in Wichita to come chat with us.
Thank you for having me. It's just a pleasure.
I wish you the best.
Thank you.
We're out of time for this week, but email us. The address is positivelykansas@kpts.org. We always need story ideas about interesting Kansans doing interesting things. So until next time, I'm Sierra Scott. Thanks for watching.
Program support provided by the F. Price Kosman Memorial Trust, Entrust Bank trustee, bringing you the Kansas Wild Edge segments on Positively Kansas.